Hanifa has this wonderful story, well, just an awesome testimony about how she encountered God's love after the most devastating moment in her life. Hanifa, welcome to Cornerstone.
Thank you, Sarah.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Tell us about what God's done in your life.
Well, where are you from?
I'm originally from Uganda.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
Good.
and I've been in Pittsburgh for about 2.5 years.
Really?
For 2.5 years. Now tell us about where this story began. I'm going to mess your name up.
Hanifa.
Hanifa.
Yeah.
Hanifa, yes, you
Hanifa.
pronounced it perfect.
Tell us what God's done.
He has done a lot of things. I don't know where to start from, but the most amazing thing is God gave me a purpose for my life.
Yes,
about 6 years ago, I survived an acid attack.
An acid attack?
Yes.
So can you tell us, where was that, in Uganda or here in this country?
It was actually in Uganda.
In
I've only
Uganda.
been in the US for only 3 years,
Okay.
but this happened in 2011 in Uganda.
Okay.
My entire face was burned.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I have 2 daughters, and one of my daughters, who is now 7 years old, was involved in my attack.
She was
Oh my
involved
gosh.
in your attack.
Yes.
What
John.
do you mean?
Yeah, tell us about what happened. How were you attacked?
So it had been 7 years of a not so good marriage, an abusive marriage, and I was not comfortable until a time I felt I was in the wrong place. I needed to start all over again, and I decided to quit. 3 months after leaving the marriage and negotiating for me to come back to the marriage, and I was really determined not to go back. I was very ready to start a new life and give my daughters a better life. I didn't want my daughters to go through a cycle of abuse and oppression.
Right.
And I was not ready to go back. So this very evening, he uses my children. He wanted to spend a weekend with the children. I take in the children. 2 days later, he calls me.
This is your former husband?
Yes, he calls me to pick up the children. And when I got to his apartment, someone was waiting for me there who threw the acid at my face.
Oh my gosh.
The rest spilled on the floor, and as I screamed for help, running, within minutes it was burning hell. And I remember one thing I said was, God, give me the strength to take this and make me happy. Give me the best out of it. That's all I remember I said. I was still a very strong Muslim girl, raised in a very strong Muslim family, and all I remember is I said, when I felt the burning sensation and all my clothes were tearing apart, and I was like, God, give me the strength to take this, and please give me the best out of this.
Yes.
That's what I said in that moment. And then I screamed, help, help, help. And when he opened the door, as I wended around the building, you know, running for fresh air, one of my babies, of course, they heard me scream, and they knew Mommy's coming to pick them up. They ran after him, and my baby fell in the pool of acid on the floor.
Fell into the acid. How old was the baby?
She was 1 year and 9 months.
Oh no.
Yeah, still nursing. I had stopped nursing her. I was rushed to the hospital. I screamed for first aid. No one of all the neighbors knew what to do. But while I waited at the emergency room, my former husband came in with my baby in dripping clothes like an hour later. And that's when it comes to my mind that maybe water would have helped me. My baby is in dripping clothes. So I screamed to the nurses, please, can you just splash water on my face? I'm burning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was hospitalized, and that was the shock of my life. While I was in the hospital, I met so many patients as a result of acid attack violence.
Other people too?
Yes. It was my first time. I had never heard about it. I had never come across anyone that has gone through this. You never see them in the public. We never saw them in the public. Now it has changed. But we never saw them in public until I was in the hospital, and I met several.
Now, so many husbands would do that to their wives?
Yes, commonly yes. Many
No.
husbands, many fiancés, many men who are trying to make advances and the woman rejects it. Yes,
Is
they
that
will
right?
do it.
Wow.
Is that right? And that's acceptable in the oh, you were in a Muslim state. So what was
Uganda is not a Muslim state,
It was not.
Dawn, but I was raised as a Muslim girl. Uganda is largely Christian, I may
Okay.
say. There
Yeah.
is only a small percentage of the Muslim community. But even the acid attacks are not accepted, but culturally, abuse of women is accepted. Oppression of women is accepted because culturally women are taken as subordinates in the family, and it's acceptable.
Wow.
If there is abuse, it's blamed on the woman. You're not doing something right to keep your husband happy. So he hit you, find a reason why he hit you and make things right. So as a result, women endure a series of abuse and oppression over the years, year in, year out. It cycles around from generation to another.
Well, tell me, somewhere in all of this horrific attack and in
Yes.
the hospital, you had a life-changing experience with God.
Actually, Terry, that was after the hospital.
Really?
Yes, so this is what happened. When I came out of the hospital, without a face, of course, so I had to cover my face under the veil
Okay.
all the time because no one would want to look at my face, and I was not ready for the insults. So I covered my face under the veil, just like any other acid attack survivor in Uganda did. That has changed now. One day, I told myself, I'm not going to live my life like this. I kept seeking God. I kept praying, of course, as a Muslim girl. I kept praying and asking God, why? And I looked for support around me to make me feel comfortable in my new skin, but somehow I felt lost. There is that moment where you feel lost, you feel not accepted, you feel you don't belong here anymore, you feel you don't belong anywhere. And I was like, God, why? And where did I go wrong? And all I needed was reassurance that I was okay, everything was fine, and every step I took forward to move on was okay, but everything I tried to do was questioned.
Sure.
The day I decided I don't need to hide this face anymore, the world has to get used to this, I have to unveil.
Right.
I was condemned by the Muslim community for unveiling.
Okay.
Yeah, technically I told my father, I cannot keep this veil on my head because then I'm tempted to pull it forward to hide my face. So
Right.
what I have to do is completely take it away and show the world my new me.
Okay.
And that was protested.
Well, tell us how you came to know Jesus.
So that's how I get to know the Lord. It was protested that I had to take off the veil, so I was taking off my identity as a Muslim woman, and I told myself, if my identity and my faith is represented by the way I dress, then I cease to belong there because
Right.
I'm not going to keep hiding my face. I'm not going to keep putting on that veil because I don't want to hide my face. So
Right.
somehow in the search, you keep searching and you keep questioning. I had so many whys all the time. I would just close myself in my room and cry and sob and ask God why. And somehow I was on a TV interview like this, and I shared my story, and the interview went on YouTube, and someone in London saw the YouTube video and contacted me, and he told me, you need to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
Really?
Did that mean
Wow.
anything to you?
Yes, it did. I had received many messages of that nature in the past, but this moment was my moment. It felt different. It transformed me there and then, and I remember myself breaking down onto my knees and saying, yes, I surrender.
Oh,
Wow.
That was January
Oh,
2013.
January 23rd,
2013.
Well, how did your life change? Because now we see you're in the States. You've had your face is wonderfully recreated or restructured.
You came here, yes.
How did that? God's put His hand on you.
Yes, God somehow had to show Himself because there was a lot of criticism and a lot of questioning and a lot of condemnation, and I told God, God, I need you. You know, I am seeking you, and I want you to show me that I am taking the right direction. And one afternoon, I was sitting with my dad like this, and he kept telling me, my daughter, I don't want you to go astray. And I told him, Dad, God knows that I'm seeking him. If I'm going astray, he will speak and tell me, Hanifa, you're going the wrong way. Take this way. And he asked me, who told you God speaks? And I told him, in my case, he will talk. Because he knows I am seeking him. In my case, he will talk.
That's
right.
There was a lot of attacks and condemnation from the Muslim community. And all I did on my knees was like, God, show me your glory. Show me that I'm taking the right direction. God, bless me in my situation. Please, God, I need you. And show yourself.
Absolutely.
And somehow, suddenly, divinely, he started opening doors of blessings, one after the other. I went to London for surgery. I was invited by people who never knew me, but they met me and they felt compelled to invite me over for surgery. I got surgeries in London. From London, I got the conviction that my experience had to impact other women.
Absolutely.
In my search for opportunities.
You know, when I see you, my sister, I see God's beauty.
Absolutely.
And I see not only in the natural, but in the supernatural. That's your story of God's salvation and his redemption. You can go to our website and hear more of this tremendous story of how the enemy comes at you in all kinds of different forms. But God, in his supernatural love, he redeems and he brings salvation. Thank you for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you for sharing.
You know,